Zendaya has 5 major projects releasing in 2026. 5. We're talking Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, Denis Villeneuve's Dune Messiah, the long-awaited 5-year jump return of Euphoria, A24's The Drama with Robert Pattinson, and the one that will actually pay for the other 4, her return as MJ in Spider-Man Brand New Day. She is everywhere, all at once. The internet is calling it the Zendaya takeover. But as we sit here in February 2026, there's an uncomfortable question starting to trend that nobody wants to ask out loud. Is Zendaya actually that good? Or is she just that famous? Because when you look at her filmography, it's surprisingly thin. She's been acting professionally for over a decade, but her actual body of work? You can count the major roles on 2 hands. Spider-Man, Dune, Euphoria, Challengers, The Greatest Showman, Malcolm and Marie. That's it. And yet, she's one of the biggest stars on the planet. She has an Emmy, she's a fashion icon, she can break the internet with a single Instagram post. But the Zendaya fatigue is real. People are asking if she's become a marketing machine, a face that gets cast to sell tickets rather than to tell stories. Is she an actress who disappeared into Rue? Or is she a brand that's become too big to hide? So today, we're breaking it all down. Not just the brand, not just the hype, but the actual work, the performances, the technique, the range. Because by the end of this, we need to answer the question, is Zendaya's takeover earned, or is she just really good at being famous? Let's start at the beginning. Zendaya was a Disney Channel kid. Casey Undercover ran from 2015 to 2018, and it was typical Disney fare. Wholesome, safe, the kind of show that usually makes you a household name with 10-year-olds but typecasts you as a personality forever. But Zendaya escaped. And here's what people don't realize. She was already showing signs of being different. Even on Disney, Zendaya had a naturalism that her peers didn't. She wasn't doing Disney acting, where every emotion is a scream. She played Casey with a grounded energy. Her timing felt real. When she had an emotional scene, she didn't oversell it for the laugh track. She understood early on that less is more. Then she took the strategic move into Spider-Man Homecoming as MJ. And here's what we need to talk about what she actually does in that role. MJ isn't a flashy character. She's not the superhero or even the typical love interest. She's the sarcastic observer, the girl who sees through Peter's BS. And Zendaya plays her with a deadpan wit that makes every line land. She's not trying to steal scenes, she's just present, listening, reacting naturally. And that's a skill. A lot of young actors in $200 million franchises try to do too much. They want to be noticed. Zendaya did the opposite. She underplayed. She made being unimpressed her signature. And it worked so well that by 2017, the industry stopped seeing a Disney kid and started seeing a presence. But the real test of her craft, the moment that proved she wasn't just good for a teenager, came with Euphoria. This wasn't just a role change. This was a total demolition of the brand she had built. And that's where the Zendaya Monopoly officially began. In 2019, Zendaya took on Rue Bennett in Euphoria, a drug addict, a liar, a teenager spiraling into self-destruction. And this role required Zendaya to do something she'd never done before, go completely internal. Because Rue isn't loud, Rue isn't expressive, Rue is numb. And playing numbness is one of the hardest things an actor can do. Because how do you show emotion when the character is actively trying not to feel anything? Let's break down what Zendaya does technically. First, the eyes. In season 1, there's this scene where Rue relapses after being sober. And what happens to Zendaya's eyes? They go flat, empty, like the light went out behind them. She's not crying, she's not emoting, she's just gone. That's not something you can fake. That's an actor making a choice to show a character disappearing into their addiction. Then there's the voice. Rue narrates the show, and Zendaya's narration is detached, almost clinical, like Rue is watching her own life from a distance. But then in moments of crisis, the voice cracks, becomes small, vulnerable. And that contrast is what makes it devastating. But the real masterclass? Season 2, Episode 5, the intervention episode. This is 50 minutes of the best acting on television in the last decade. When Rue's mom asks about the suitcase, you can see Zendaya calculating in real time. The micro-expressions, the shift in her body language to mimic innocence. She's playing a character who is playing a character. And then the explosion. Zendaya doesn't do pretty crying. She makes it ugly. Spit flying, face contorted, voice breaking. It's uncomfortable to watch, which is exactly the point. By the time the withdrawal hits and she's a shell of a human being, you realize the level of control she has. She can go from 0 to 100 and back to 0, and every beat feels earned. At 24 years old, Zendaya became the youngest person ever to win the Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series. And it wasn't because she was famous, it was because she earned it. But here's the question. Can she do that outside of Euphoria? But before she could become the serious actor in Euphoria, Zendaya had to prove she could survive the star machine. And that happened in 2017 with The Greatest Showman. Look, we can debate the movie's historical accuracy all day, but for Zendaya, this was a boot camp. She played Ann Wheeler, a trapeze artist, and she did something most 20-year-old starlets wouldn't dream of. She did her own stunts. She spent months building the upper body strength to swing 20 feet in the air with no net because director Michael Gracie wanted to minimize CGI. This is the first time we see the mogul mindset in action. She wasn't just showing up to look pretty in a pink wig, she was outworking everyone on set. Hugh Jackman famously called her a badass because she didn't flinch when the rigs got higher.
And then it's right as I was gonna go up, right, in the cherry picker to go up to the thing, and Hugh Jackman walked by and he goes, "Zendaya, you're a badass." And I was like, take me up.
This movie proved that Zendaya's greatest talent might not even be her voice or her acting, it's her willpower. After Euphoria, Zendaya had a choice. She could have chased Oscar bait dramas to prove her range, or she could go big, blockbuster big. She chose Dune. Now, Dune is tricky, because in part 1, Zendaya barely does anything. She's in Paul's visions, she shows up at the end, she has maybe 10 minutes of screen time. And people criticize that. They said she was wasted. But here's what she actually did with those 10 minutes. She created a presence. When Chani appears in Paul's dreams, she's not just standing there looking mysterious, she was playing a challenge, a question. And Zendaya plays her with a quiet intensity that makes you want to see more. Then, Dune Part 2 came out, and this is where we get to see if Zendaya can carry a blockbuster. And the answer, she can, but it's complicated. Chani in Part 2 is the skeptic, the voice of reason, the person who sees what Paul is becoming and doesn't like it. And Zendaya plays that arc with a simmering frustration that builds over the entire film. There's this scene where Paul declares himself the Messiah, and Chani is watching from the crowd. And Zendaya doesn't say anything. She just looks at him, and you can see everything she's feeling. Betrayal, anger, heartbreak, all in her eyes. That's the skill. That's what separates good actors from great ones, the ability to communicate without words. But here's the limitation. Chani is a reactive character. She's responding to Paul's journey. She doesn't have her own arc. She's the love interest who gets radicalized. And while Zendaya does what she can with the role, it's not a showcase. So Dune proves Zendaya can handle big-budget filmmaking, she can hold the screen opposite Timothée Chalamet, she can work with Denis Villeneuve, but it doesn't prove she has range. It just proves she's good at playing quiet intensity. And that's a pattern we're starting to see. In 2021, during the height of the pandemic, Zendaya and John David Washington gave us Malcolm and Marie, a two-person film shot in black and white where a couple just argues for 90 minutes. This was supposed to be the serious actor pivot. No capes, no spice, just raw, intimate drama. And while the performance is good, it's also incredibly revealing. Because Malcolm and Marie exposes something about Zendaya's acting. She's great at internal, simmering emotion. She's great at quiet intensity. But when she has to be loud, when she has to be theatrical, it doesn't quite land the same way. There's a scene where Marie goes off on Malcolm, calling him out for his ego, and Zendaya plays it with controlled anger. She's not screaming, she's cutting, precise, and it works. That's her comfort zone. But then there are moments where the script requires her to be more explosive, more vulnerable in a different way, and it feels slightly performative, like she's acting instead of being. And that's the difference. In Euphoria, Zendaya disappears into Rue. In Malcolm and Marie, you can see Zendaya acting. And that's not necessarily bad, but it shows the limits of her range. She's not a chameleon. She's not someone who completely transforms from role to role. She's an actor who's really good at playing variations of the same energy. Quiet, observant, simmering, internal. And that's fine. A lot of great actors have a lane, but it also means she's limited. And when a role requires something outside of that cool girl lane, it doesn't always work. Then came Challengers in 2024, directed by Luca Guadagnino. And this was a different kind of role for Zendaya. She plays Tashi, a former tennis prodigy who becomes a coach and manipulates two men who are obsessed with her. And this character is not a teenager. She's not quiet, she's not simmering. She's a woman who knows exactly what she wants and uses everyone around her to get it. And Zendaya commits. This is probably her most confident performance outside of Euphoria. The physicality is different. Tashi moves with authority, she takes up space, and Zendaya plays her with a sharpness that we haven't seen before. She's not the observer, she's the center of gravity. Everyone orbits around her. She's playing a complicated, borderline villainous woman. But here's the issue. The movie itself is divisive. Some people loved it, some people thought it was style over substance, and Zendaya's performance got mixed reactions. Some said she was commanding, others said she was too controlled, too cold, that she didn't let the character breathe. And that brings us back to the central question. Is Zendaya a great actress? Or is she a good actress who's really smart about choosing roles that play to her strengths? Now we need to talk about the other side of Zendaya, the brand, the marketing machine. Because here's the thing, by 2026, Zendaya is no longer just an actress. She's a cultural force, and every public appearance is a meticulously designed event. Her partnership with stylist Law Roach turned her into someone whose red carpet looks get as much attention as her movies. When she walks out for a premiere, the clothes are the headline. The movie is just the occasion. And that's where the too big to fail conversation starts. Because at a certain point, the brand becomes bigger than the work. People show up for Zendaya, not because of her performances, but because she's Zendaya. And when that happens, the quality of the work stops mattering as much. You're not being judged on your acting anymore, you're being judged on your cultural impact. And that's dangerous because it means you can coast, you can stop challenging yourself, and people will still show up. Which brings us to 2026, the year of the Zendaya takeover. 5 major projects, 5 genre-defining tests, and collectively they represent the ultimate trial of Zendaya's career. First, Euphoria Season 3. After a 4-year hiatus and a massive time jump, can she recapture the raw, vibrating magic of Rue, or was that Emmy winning a one-time thing? Then, the drama in April, a dark, twisty A24 thriller co-starring Robert Pattinson. This is her unpredictability test. Can she play a bookstore clerk who isn't cool? Can she be messy and vulnerable without a drug addict archetype to hide behind? By July, she's pulling a double feature. She's the goddess Athena in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. This is her chance to prove she can handle prestige filmmaking at the highest level. And then she's MJ in Spider-Man Brand New Day. But it's a different MJ. The world has forgotten Peter Parker. She's essentially a stranger in her own franchise. And finally, December brings Dune Messiah. Chani is no longer just a skeptic, she is the heart of the tragedy. This is where we see if Zendaya can carry the emotional weight of a $300 million epic as the definitive lead. 2026 is the year Zendaya either cements herself as the greatest actor of her generation or reveals that she's just really good at one thing. Because here's the truth nobody wants to say. Right now, Zendaya is a great actress with one legendary role. Rue is iconic, but the rest? It's solid, it's professional, but is it transformative? She doesn't disappear into roles the way Timothée Chalamet does. She doesn't have the chaotic range of Florence Pugh or the quiet, soul-bearing risks of Saoirse Ronan. But Zendaya has something they don't. She has cultural power. She has a brand that is bigger than any single movie. The monopoly is here. Now she just has to prove she earned it. So, is Zendaya actually that good, or is she just that famous? The honest answer? She's both. And she is smart enough to know exactly how to use one to amplify the other. Right now, Zendaya is a talented actress with a world-class but very specific skill set. She is elite at playing quiet, internal characters, those simmering observational roles where she can communicate a life story with just a look. When she's in that lane, like in Euphoria, she's phenomenal. But let's be real, she isn't a chameleon. That is exactly why 2026 is her trial by fire. This year, Zendaya isn't just an actress, she is a monopoly across 5 massive projects. If she pulls it off, if even 3 of these roles showcase a side of her we've never seen, then the conversation changes forever. She isn't just the face of a generation, she is the best actress of her generation. But if the performances are merely fine, while the brand continues to be louder than the work, then we'll have our answer. Zendaya is a master of the industry who figured out how to be more famous than her resume. Currently, the ratio is probably 40% talent, 60% brand. For an Emmy winner working with Nolan and Bill and Webb, that balance can't hold forever. The talent is there. We saw it in the Rue intervention and the silence of Chani. But 2026 is the year she has to prove it consistently across every genre. If she does, the takeover is earned. If she doesn't, she'll still be the biggest star on the planet, but the question of her range will linger forever. What do you think? Is Zendaya's talent finally matching her fame, or is the monopoly doing most of the work? Which of her 5 projects are you betting on to be her best? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be in there debating all night. Subscribe for the next deep dive. I'll see you in the next one.